Good evening, co-op members, and welcome to your first ever virtual member meeting. We are so happy that you've been able to join us tonight, and it looks like we have an amazing over 600 RSVPs for this event. That's absolutely fantastic. I must say we're coming to you live from the South End Community Room space, and I'm John Tashiro, General Manager of the co-op, and with me, my co-host for the evening, Faye Mack, our Board President. With the ongoing precautions and safety concerns of COVID, we've had to restructure this event in a slightly different way than in previous years. But we do appreciate your understanding and patience throughout. We also want to take a moment to give a huge shout out to our community engagement and IT teams who have worked so tirelessly and hard to make this event happen. Thank you so much. We'll get started in just a moment as Faye walks you through the agenda for this evening. But just before I do so, just a couple of things to note. First, if you have any questions, we'd encourage you to submit them through the chat box, and we'll have time at the end of the presentation during our Q&A session to best address them as we can. Also, if you have any technological issues, we've set up a dedicated IT helpline where you can either email or call member support at citymarket.coop or the phone number 802-651-9516. And you'll see that information also in the chat box. Once again, thanks so much for navigating this virtual event with us. And with that, I'll hand it over to Faye.
Thanks, John. Hi, everyone. My name is Faye Mack, and I am the president of the City Market Board. And it's my great pleasure to be here with you all tonight and to be here with John co-hosting. Normally in member meeting, you get to see all of the different board members, both mingling about, but also as we rotate different presenting responsibilities. Because of social distancing tonight, you'll just be seeing a lot of me, but they are here watching the member meeting along with you all at home. I want to take a minute before we get going to just express my appreciation for all of our members, including all of you who are tuning in tonight, for your general support over the last 6 months. It's been a pretty wild ride, and our members have been nimble and understanding and flexible, and we appreciate all of your ongoing support throughout all of the transitions during the pandemic. I also want to take this moment to really thank all of the staff for all of their good work over these last 6 months, including all of the staff who've been putting on this member meeting tonight. On tonight's agenda, you'll see that we'll be kicking off our board election cycle, and voting will begin right after this meeting. You'll also get a chance to hear from current board members and this year's board candidates, as well as from our Don Schramm Award winner this year. The final portion of the evening will be devoted to the year in review, and as John mentioned, we'll have time for Q&A at the end. But before we get going with the agenda, we want to take a moment to get a sense of who's in the room. So we're going to be doing some live polling, and I'm going to turn it over to John to explain that process.
Great. Thanks, Faye. So as part of finding ways to engage with members, we're excited to introduce this interactive live polling with you tonight, and it's officially called the Mentimeter. On the next slides, you'll see 2 ways to access it online, and where we'll be asking you a few questions. For those of you who attended the member meeting in years past, this is really our attempt to emulate the co-op meeting that was super popular then, where we can learn a little bit about you, our members. So with that, on the screen, you'll see to the right, an area where you can hover your smartphone camera over to see the QR code that will prompt you to connect with the URL. Alternatively, you can go to www.menti.com and use the code listed there. We just want to give members now a few moments to answer all the questions, so please have at it, and then we'll come back together to take a look. In the meantime, Faye, just curious, what may be your fondest memory of a past member meeting and why?
It's a good question, John. I have so many at this point because this year is my 10th member meeting in a row. I haven't missed one since I first ran for the board. And they've changed a lot over the last 10 years. When I first started going to member meeting, they were in a tent in the back of the parking lot at the downtown store. They were breakfast, and they were often very rainy and cold. But now that we've moved on to Memorial Auditorium and now down to Echo, the thing that I love about the member meeting remains the same, though. I really love walking into the room surrounded by all of the different members and folks in the community who I may not even know are members of the co-op. And it's a time when I get to see a lot of people, sometimes the only time of the year where I see them. So I really just love that feeling of being surrounded by community. What about you? What is your favorite member meeting memory?
Right, for me, it has to be really my first member meeting that I attended back in 2015. I had just recently become the general manager for the co-op, and we were still in the Memorial Auditorium that year. It was a very big room where we fit in all the members. That Memorial Auditorium was constructed, I believe, back in 1927 to honor the World War I veterans. And unfortunately, due to structural safety concerns, it was closed in 2016. But I just do remember feeling a tremendous amount of warmth, everyone being so welcoming, and really being able to engage and connect with members. So, that remains probably my fondest memory. And certainly over the years, we've seen how the member meeting has evolved. And most recently, up until last year, really having an Echo where we had hundreds of members really lining up outside the door, waiting to come in, enjoy the great co-op food, and certainly to be mingling and connecting with like-minded members. So with that, let's take a look at what members had to say with the questions. So first one, what is the one word or phrase that comes to mind when you think of City Market Onion River Co-op? And as we look at what members have to say, things like local, community, friendly food, it's absolutely fantastic. I guess I'm wondering, Faye, what comes to mind for you?
A lot of the words that I'm seeing on the screen I really resonate with. I love seeing cooperative and inclusive and fun there. But I think the word that comes to mind for me the most is connection. Connection to community, connection to my food producers. That's probably my word. What about you, John?
Yeah, I guess for me, a lot of those things resonate, but I think continuous improvement. I am always so proud of the staff in terms of how to always look at striving to be better and that sense of real learning. So that certainly comes to mind for me, and certainly the others around what members have shared certainly resonate as well. But it's great to see all the variety of things that have really popped up on the screen. Moving on to the next question, one of my favorite questions, and I think members who have attended member meetings in the past will probably remember, how long have you been a member of the co-op? Some of you will probably remember that at past member meetings, we've done a live version of this, but we've had people stand, depending on how many years they've been with the co-op. And once again, always great to see such a great mix of members, especially from those members between 1 to 4 years, to those that have been 15 years plus. All that to say is really, members, you have been incredibly supportive of the co-op throughout the years, and we cannot thank you enough for all your support.
And it looks like our next question is, which store do you shop at more frequently? And we have a pretty even split down the middle with 50-50, or 50 to 52 downtown store, which is exciting to see. I really love both stores. They have such different character, and I try to go 50-50 to each of the stores too. So it's great to see that we've got folks who favor both stores with us tonight.
Oh yeah, that's really interesting to see, and it's great to see that 50-50 split. I guess for me, I would say that I also split my time between the two stores, but truth be told, my family tends to do more of the shopping than I do, partially driven by the fact that they know that if I go into the store, even if I'm supposed to grab a quick item or two, I'll be in there for about an hour. For me, how can you not go into the co-op and start talking with customers, with staff, always wanting to engage and connect. So that's certainly something that happens in my family. As we go on to the final question, what are some of your favorite co-op products? Such a great range here, from coffee to produce, to bulk, local produce. Such a great mix of kombucha I see there, and wow, quite a list there. So really interesting to see. I guess, Faye, it makes me wonder, what might be your favorite product?
Well, I think every Thursday I have to go in and fill up another quart jar of the organic grind your own peanut butter. So I go through a lot of peanut butter, and this time of the year, I really love going through the produce department and finding some new heirloom apples that I haven't tried before to go with my peanut butter.
All right. I have to say, for me, this is slightly unique, but it is a local company called Rhapsody Natural Foods. They make a number of different products, but my favorite one of those is called a product called natto. It's a traditional Japanese fermented food. I have to warn everyone, if everyone's wondering, I'll try that product. It's a little unique. Some say it has a distinct flavor that can be likened to a strong aged cheese. It's a little sticky and essentially can be very stringy, but very healthy for you. And I admit that I just love the product so much. So would encourage you, if you're willing to venture out and try it, please do. So with that, really so great to hear from everyone. And we are certainly appreciative of, remember, your thoughts and answers to those questions. And just wanted to thank you for participating.
All right, well now it is my great pleasure to introduce you to the rest of the board members who I serve with. Since March, our board has continued to meet monthly, but we've been meeting virtually. We welcome you to join us at any of our monthly meetings. This year, for social distancing purposes, as I said before, we couldn't have all of us together in the same room, so we asked everyone to submit a video introducing themselves. I've been serving on the board since 2012, and I first joined the co-op in 2008 when I moved to Burlington. And I'm just so honored to be able to serve alongside such a great group of people who are so truly dedicated to the co-op, to its members, and to our community. So without further ado, here is the rest of your City Market board.
I'm Eric Bohm. I'm the board vice president. I've been on the board for 4 years. This is my 4th year. I've been a member of the co-op for 6 years. And I love City Market as it builds community through community service, through cooking classes, through local healthy food, and in modeling business social responsibility to our community.
Hi everyone, I'm Allison Searson. I'm currently the board secretary. I have been on the board for nearly 6 years and a member for 10. I love everything about City Market. I am particularly passionate about food access and very proud of all that City Market does to ensure our community has access to healthy food.
Good evening. My name is Jim Rudolph. I've been on the board for the past 3 years, and I currently serve as the board treasurer. One of the things that I love about City Market, and it might sound a little silly, but I love the co-op bumper stickers. I love that we have such a strong community here that people are willing to put bumper stickers on their car to show their identity as a co-op member, and that they shop at City Market as their grocery store. And so that's just a neat thing that gives me a smile every time I go out for a walk or run around the community.
Hello everyone, my name is Caroline Keller. I am a board member at City Market. I've been a board member for a little over a year now and a general member of the co-op for 5 years. What do I love most about City Market? Well, besides the local yummy food and the friendly staff, I love City Market because I know that shopping there means I'm investing in our community, and that's a very powerful thing.
Hello, I'm Leah Soderquist. I'm a member of the board of directors, currently serving my 2nd year, and I've been a member of the co-op since 2012. What I love about City Market is its vibrant approach to bringing people together around local food. Whether it's the teaching kitchen or the member worker opportunities or events like tonight, it's always such a joy to gather as the co-op community.
Hi there, my name is Joanna Grossman and I'm a board member for City Market. This is the end of my 2nd term, so I've been on the board 6 years total. And I've been a member of the co-op for about 13 years. It's my daughter, Isa, photobombing. And I love City Market. I love everything it provides to our community, whether it's food or an amazing market for our farmers and artisans, or jobs and with good benefits, or just amazing resources and funding for all of our community programs and grants and all that stuff. And it's been also a great partner for a lot of other organizations that I've had a leadership role in too, like Unified PTO and NPA and all the cool stuff that makes our community what it is. And I'm really proud to be a part of it, and thank you for being a part of it too.
Hi, my name is Christina Sweet. My pronouns are she, her. I'm a board member and I joined the board in January of 2020. I've been a member of the co-op since 2012 and I love City Market because it's the best place to shop for local produce.
Hi, my name is Jody Landon, and I've been a member of the co-op since 1976, but I was elected to the board only last year. I love being on the board. The co-op is a valuable resource for individuals, families, and organizations in this city. I appreciate being able to make a contribution in this way, and I'm truly enriched by our diverse community.
And now that you've heard from our current board, you'll have a chance to hear from this year's board candidates. Tonight kicks off election season and voting is open until the October 21st. If you haven't already, you should be receiving the election flyer in your mailboxes sometime soon. And in that, you'll find all of the information you need to know about each of the candidates and how to vote. You'll also be able to find all of that information on the City Market website. Voting will go live at the end of this meeting, and you can vote online from home from any computer or phone with internet access or at kiosks that will be set up at both of the stores. We'll include the URL for voting in the chat box. You can just click that and get ready to vote. Every year at member meeting, each of our members running for the board has a chance to introduce themselves to the membership. This year, and since we're not in person, each candidate has recorded a short video, which we'll share with you in just a moment. This year we have 4 different candidates running for 3 board seats. Our candidates for the board this year are Megan Diffenderfer, Joanna Grossman, who's an incumbent, Jim Rudolph, who is also an incumbent, and Allison Searson, also an incumbent. Please take a moment to listen to them. Please read the information that they provided in the flyer, and please vote. And without further ado, here they are.
Hi, my name is Megan Diffenderfer. I'm a member and employee here at City Market and excited to be here today as a candidate for the Board of Directors. I first want to thank the staff for finding ways to keep our community connected during these unprecedented times. This creativity, flexibility, and tenacity speak to what I see as one of the most wonderful parts of our co-op, a community that is able to engage, adapt, and grow together no matter the circumstances. I'm choosing this year to run for a multitude of reasons that I hope by sharing today will be both an introduction to me and the representative I intend to be for our co-op community. Being an employee of the co-op, I want to help be a representation of the voices who are impacted by the decisions being made. I'm currently a member of our finance team and previously worked in the downtown front end, allowing me to bring to the table both familiarity with our budget from day-to-day functions and extensive experience working on the sales floor and engaging with the public. In the front end, I was able to make connections with our larger community that I still keep today and hope to extend that availability to each and every member if elected. The biggest reason I felt compelled to run is that 2020 has been a tumultuous year. One thing that has been proven throughout these past few months is that strong communities, especially those operating under mutual aid and cooperative structures, have thrived and have thus allowed their extended communities to thrive. To serve on the board is a chance to not only deepen my personal connection, but also my service to the community that the co-op has created. I hope to bring a new voice to the board of directors as an informed employee, a proud City Market member, and a Burlington community member deeply committed to social justice, food justice, and democratic governance. Thank you so much for your time and happy voting.
Hi there, my name is Joanna Grossman and I'm running for the City Market Board. I'm running for re-election. I'm at the end of my 2nd term. So I'm running for my 3rd term, but actually my 1st and 2nd term were not consecutive. There was a 1-year gap between them. So yeah, a little about me. I'm a digital organizer for Indivisible. I'm very politically engaged. I do a lot of data and GIS work locally. I've been involved in a lot of local organizations. I coordinate Unified PTO. I used to be on Ward 5 NPA. I do all kinds of stuff like that. I've been in and out of the food industry for a couple of years now, trying to watch my time. And yeah, I really like what I love about the board work is bringing really what we do is really scrutinize a lot of data and reports, and we try to represent you, the membership, in that work and in our feedback to the management. So I like that. I like data and I like reading and I like being able to kind of bring that to it and represent you all. And I've just really loved being on the board, and I hope I can have your support. And if not, I'm sure whoever does it will do a great job. But it's a really incredible group of people, and I just feel grateful to have been a part of it for as long as I have. And thank you all members for being here and for being a part of the co-op and for supporting the co-op during this difficult time. And for supporting our expansion to the south end. This has been a really trying term on the board, and I'm really happy to be involved, and that's it. So reach out to me directly if you have any questions. I'm totally happy to answer them, and enjoy the rest of the meeting.
Good evening, City Market members. My name is Jim Rudolph, and I'm the current board treasurer. I'm requesting the opportunity to serve you for another 3-year term. It's been an absolute privilege to serve you on City Market's board for the past 3 years. Thank you so much. And during these challenging times, it's so crystal clear the role that City Market plays in supporting our community. And I want to share my gratitude for all the work that our staff is doing, both during the pandemic as well as other unplanned challenges during this fiscal year, including the multiple water advisories when City Market had to make changes along the way in how they served the community. We have a great co-op. We are an anchor in the Vermont food system. We're a role model in the Burlington business community, and we're a leader at the national cooperative scene. However, we have much more work we need to do as well. We need to continue providing a safe experience for workers and customers alike during the pandemic. And we need to balance financial responsibility with compassionate service to our community during the current recession and continue fighting out the roots of systemic food insecurity. We need to continue to identify and eliminate sources of implicit bias and institutional discrimination so that all members of our community feel welcome in our stores. And we need to deliver a clear case for why people should continue to be members of City Market, as we have planned on profitability for the next few years, and patronage checks most likely will not be coming in the mail. And also we need to develop and execute a fair and financially viable e-commerce plan as more and more households buy groceries online. As a board member, I don't make bulk bin recommendations, and I don't make the schedule for our staffs. But I listen to your feedback and evaluate the leadership team's plans and performance through service to you. In order to best represent your interests over the next 3 years, I will continue to lean on my training in listening to customers as a market research professional, balancing financial responsibility with social responsibility, as I do daily in my work at 7th Generation, and always utilize the training City Market has invested in me to their fullest. Thank you very much and have a great evening.
Hi, everyone. I've given this speech before, but like with many things this year, we're doing it a little differently. One thing that's not different is I might glance down at my notes as I talk to you. I just want to take a few minutes to convey to you my dedication and commitment to City Market, to tell you why I'm running again for a seat on the board and why I believe you should vote for me. When I first joined the board 6 years ago, I knew very little about policy governance and the cooperative model. I just knew that I was passionate about food, passionate about ensuring that our community had access to healthy food. I loved the co-op. I loved the work that they were doing for our community, and I wanted to be a part of that work. So you trusted in me, and you voted for me, and you gave me that opportunity. You then re-elected me, and so I have served 2 3-year terms. Over the course of 6 years, I have gained a significant amount of knowledge and experience. I now understand policy governance and the cooperative model. I understand City Market's specific policies. I have experience making important decisions at the board level, and I have a good working relationship with my fellow board members, our GM, and the leadership team at the co-op. I continue to be passionate about food, and helping to ensure that our community has access to healthy food. I continue to be in awe of all of the work the City Market does for our community, and I continue to want to be a part of all of that good work. So I hope that you will vote for me and allow me to serve for my final 3-year term. I also hope that you'll get out and vote in another very important election on November 3rd. Thank you and have a good night.
Thank you so much to all of our board candidates for your commitment to the co-op and your interest in serving on the board. And don't forget to vote. Now it is my pleasure to introduce the Don Schramm Community Service Award. This annual award recognizes members who show outstanding commitment to the cooperative principles, visionary leadership, or service to the community. Each year, we on the board receive nominations for the award, and we work together to select a winner. We want to take a moment this year to recognize and share appreciation for all of this year's nominees and the incredible work happening across all facets of our community. This year's nominees were Carolina Lukak, Melissa Kane, Meredith Hoisington, Sarah DeSilvi, and Sarah Flash. And this year's Don Schramm Community Service Award recipient is Ashley Laporte. At this tenuous moment in our history, Ashley has courageously stepped up to confront the systems and structures that perpetuate systemic racism in our city and in our state. Ashley has organized city and state rallies to listen to and hear from Black voices. She has stayed up until countless hours of the night, waiting online and in line to vulnerably share her life experiences for both public comment and testimony at city council meetings and at the state on racism, race, and police reform. In the rawest of moments and the most fraught times, Ashley is dedicated to equity in our community. Before we share Ashley's video, I want to acknowledge that conversations around racial justice are emotional, challenging, and most importantly, they are necessary. While there may be various perspectives on how best to confront racism in our community, we recognize the importance of centering the voices of BIPOC, Black, Indigenous, and people of color. Ashley's voice is an important one in this moment, and while the views expressed here are her own, we as a board representing City Market's members have chosen to take this moment to heed Ashley's call and continue our own learning as we navigate this current moment in history. We also want to note for context that Ashley shared this video with us back on September 17th, and there have been some changes in the efforts she mentions in the video since that time. Here's Ashley.
Hello, City Market members, staff, and the broader membership community. My name is Ashley Laporte, and I've just been informed I've been awarded the Don Schramm Community Service Award. Big thank you to those who nominated and selected me for this. I have to say, I was pretty caught off guard to receive the email from Caroline informing me of the award, mostly because I've never thought about what I'm doing as community service. In fact, we have a community service commitment at the company I work for, and I never thought about submitting my racial justice work to meet that commitment. Thanks for the good idea. But in all seriousness, I guess I haven't seen my work in racial justice as community service for 2 reasons. The first is that I am so new to organizing and activism in my personal life that I look at OGs in the local Vermont movement like Tabitha Moore, Mark Hughes, Jabari Jones, Christine Hughes, Brian Sheena, Kaya Morris, Harmony Edwosaman, Zenavia Wilcox, and so many others, and think they are the ones who deserve the credit. And they really do. They've been leading the grassroots racial justice movement in Vermont far before George Floyd was murdered in the street and well before Breonna Taylor was a household name. And it is on their shoulders I stand, on their relationships, their credibility, and their frameworks for change. Without their work as a part of the local chapters of the NAACP, the ACLU, the Vermont Racial Justice Alliance, the Black Perspective, and many other organizations, the current fight for racial justice in Vermont would be dead in its tracks. The passing of the racial justice and reparations resolutions in Burlington would not have been possible without the years of groundwork set before this most recent racial justice moment. The second reason I was surprised to receive this award is because I don't do this as service. I do it as a means for survival. That is what the current Battery Park protests started 24 days ago in the wake of Jacob Blake's unjust shooting are all about. It's about survival. The Battery Park protests are calling for Burlington to remove violent Burlington Police Department officers Jason Bellavance, Joseph Coro, and Corey Campbell. As I have marched with this BIPOC-led movement, organized mutual aid supplies and meals, and organized community turnout at City Council, Joint Public Safety and Policing Committee meetings, Charter Change Committee meetings, my focus has been on one thing, and that's my survival. And the survival of my family and friends who look like me, and the survival of my children that I hope to have someday. As the poet activist Audre Lorde said, we were never meant to survive. When we have violent police officers in the Burlington Police Department, when we have school resource officers who disproportionately discipline Black and Brown children, when we continue to refuse to invest in BIPOC communities and businesses, we are threatening the very survival of Black people. So my decision to enter this work is about survival. And this fight for my survival fills me with energy and strength, because fighting for myself and my BIPOC brothers, sisters, and siblings is freedom. It's resistance, and resistance feels really good. I grew up here in Vermont in Stowe with my strong mother and my brilliant sister. I grew up surrounded by the love of my 9 aunts and uncles and more than a dozen cousins. I had loyal friends, supportive teachers, and a roof over my head. I went on to get an incredible education and to build a career I am truly proud of. I have had a massive amount of privilege as I enter this work. And I have the love and loyalty of my partner, Louis, today. I continue to have the unconditional support of my mother, Christiane Laporte, and my partner in justice, my sister, Jessica Laporte. And now I know that I have the support of the City Market community. How lucky am I? I was asked to talk a bit about how to support racial justice and some of the work that I'm doing. I'd say please support the Vermont Racial Justice Alliance by joining our mailing list. I'm a proud member of the All POC Steering Committee of the Racial Justice Alliance. I'd encourage you to engage in the community organizing efforts the Vermont Racial Justice Alliance is leading, and to support by monetary donation. I'd also encourage you to follow the Black Perspective. Come meet BIPOC members of the Burlington community through the Black Perspective's amazing community events like movie nights and talent shows. There's actually a hike up to Mount Philo at the end of the month. Also donate to them. And I'd ask, in terms of the Battery Park protests, donate a warm meal and come meet the protesters in Battery Park. I promise you, you will be blown away by the mutual aid effort and creativity of this group. And join us in calling for the 3 violent officers to be removed from the Burlington Police Department. And finally, I want to leave you with a piece of advice from my sister, Jessica Laporte. She says, and I quote, "Accept and welcome Black leadership in your life. Find the person in your industry you can follow and be influenced by. Listen when Black parents speak up on issues in your schools. Read Black perspectives on local and national politics. Contribute to Black-led organizations without needing to be in charge," end quote. Thank you again for this award. It's a real honor. See you around.
Once again, congratulations, Ashley, and also for all those nominated for your work in the community. Thank you. Moving on to the business portion of the meeting tonight, you can imagine the past year has been pretty challenging. At the same time, I truly feel that it's also brought an incredible sense of cooperation among our staff, members, and the broader community. From partnering with the city to distribute masks and food, to our incredibly dedicated and hardworking staff coming together to support one another on the floor, to you, our amazing members, for your feedback and your appreciation. We are so, so grateful. I recognize that this is a quick snapshot of the last year, but we want to certainly share our successes and challenges. And overall, the can-do attitude, the diligence, the actions of our team in combination with the camaraderie amongst our staff, with support from you, our members, and the broader community, has really made all the difference. As we look at our successes, it's hard to believe, but the South End has now been open for a full 2 years plus. And we've certainly seen a migration of customers and members from the downtown to the south end. Certainly the teamwork with the swift adaptation and responses to the pandemic has been really nothing far from extraordinary. And also in terms of working with the city in partnership to distribute over 20,000 meals. And yes, in a very short period of time, based out of necessity, our teams work hard to establish a curbside program and also expand our delivery service, waiving the fee for Food for All members as well as seniors throughout the duration. In terms of challenges, there were many, and it's very hard to believe that pre-pandemic, we had 2 city-related water quality issues that took place in July of 2019 and February of 2020. Concerns around water quality certainly impact the operations of the co-op. We've had to close our stores because at the end of the day, our highest priority is really the safety of our staff and you, our members, and our customers. We recognize that the city is investing in water infrastructure, but we've also gone ahead to invest in some additional safety measures so we can at least stay partially open in future should such events happen again. As it relates to the impact of COVID, there are many, and we've had to make over 30 operational adjustments for the health and safety concerns, which include everything from installing plexiglass in our front-end checkout lanes, redesigning our bulk departments and prepackaged items, new sanitization processes, offering sanitizer and gloves throughout the store, much more. And certainly being one of the first to require face coverings for staff and customers, as well as limiting our customer occupancy. Over the coming slides, we will further share some of the challenges that COVID-19 has posed and how we are constantly adjusting and dealing with them. As you'll see, in terms of our revenues, so if you look back at FY19, and members will know that our financial year begins on July 1st and ends on June 30th. And so in FY19, we were still a 1-store co-op. FY18 brought on the opening of the South End store to become a multi-store co-op. Thus, you'll see the revenue having increased pretty significantly. And over the last year in FY20, we've exceeded over 53 million in annual sales. Also note that we have asterisks for the FY 2017 and 2020 numbers. For context, we reduced our revenues by our total discounts in our audited financial statements. And so for FY 2018 and 19, those numbers reflect that. But for 2017 and 2020, they do not. As members may know, we are currently in the midst of our financial audits. And while it looks like FY20 may seem higher than sales for FY19, the reality is that it will eventually be less. At the same time, as we look back at the last year, our sales growth was very volatile and unpredictable, really brought on by the pandemic. We also incurred some additional expenses that include everything from costs with PPE, personal protective equipment, the hiring of our Chocolate Thunder security, as well as staff appreciation bonuses and others. At the same time, in March, we certainly saw a pretty significant increase in sales. As you'll see in future slides, we certainly saw some significant declines from April onwards for the rest of the last financial year. So as we look at this slide, this is around sales. And as you'll notice, that surge that happened in March, and then the significant decline that happened in April. And at this point, the sales had started to return somewhat over the remaining months of the FY20 year, but still less than levels than the previous year in FY19. Once again, somewhat understandable, certainly with the concerns around safety and also the governor's order of the stay home, stay safe directive. In the next slide, you'll also see from what we call a transactions, essentially measuring the customers in the store. Once again, you'll see that decline that took place from March onward, and once again coinciding with the governor's stay home, stay safe directive. We also recognize that particularly in the downtown, with the lack of students, as well as seeing many workplaces understandably moving to remote operations, we saw far fewer people, particularly in the downtown store. And so just to note that overall, as a co-op, even though we have been open throughout this time, and once again, with safety of our staff and our customers being our highest priority, it is fair to say that we continue to have challenges from a revenue standpoint with the pandemic.
Thanks for that overview, John. Throughout the pandemic and the last year, one of the things we've been able to continue to prioritize is our relationship with local producers, and customers have continued to support local producers as well, with over 3,000 local and made in Vermont products available in the store and over $20 million in local sales in the last year. Some of the lower volume in prepared foods because of the switch with COVID has meant a little bit of less purchasing with local products. So this area has not been without challenge, but we are really heartened to see people continuing to really prioritize local in their buying. And within the co-op, our relationship with local producers is more than a transactional relationship. We value every single vendor that we work with and take great care in cultivating trust, support, and reliance. The produce teams in particular have been working closely with vendors, especially in light of COVID-19 challenges, to navigate changes and prepare together. We saw a lot of farms pivot to direct-to-consumer sales, and we're really glad to see how resilient the farmers were able to be and to respond in such a challenging situation. To highlight some of that, we hosted a social media campaign earlier this spring called Local Farmers Carry On. It's also been great to be able to continue some of our partnerships, including the partnership with Crop Moms with the Intervale Center's People's Farm for socially distanced crop moms throughout the summer. And on this next slide, you'll see a photo of some of our rockstar staff at the South End. We as board members have been truly blown away by the incredible efforts of all of our 300 plus co-op staff over these last 6.5 months. Early April, members of our leadership team and the union executive board have been working together to reach consensus on a staff appreciation bonus that is still being provided, as well as facilitate conversations around safety protocols. In response to the staff feedback, we've implemented changes from rearranging displays for more social distancing to addressing store capacity and so much more. So on behalf of the board and the membership, I want to just really thank all of the staff for their hard work throughout this process. And speaking of appreciation, I want to thank you all for the appreciation that you share, including the feedback and the wonderful kudos that you send to the co-op through customer comment cards, social media, and just chatting with folks in the store. On the screen, you can see a smattering of messages left on Facebook and Instagram by different people throughout the community. And I just want to say that every message is heard, it's seen by staff, it's seen by board members, and we just really, truly appreciate the sense of community and support.
Thanks, Faye. And as Faye referenced, the running of the co-op really requires the collective efforts of over 300 staff working hard and dedicated to the mission of the co-op each and every day. As you'll see, the majority of our staff are full-time, something that is really the opposite of what a typical food store operates. And that's also a demonstration of how we really do value our staff and their continuity. In recent months, we've celebrated a staff person who decided to retire after 21 years at the co-op. Greg, if you're watching, thank you for your amazing service, as you are a prime example of really what and dedication of our staff do at the co-op. We also want to say that we remain very proud of the benefits we offer our full and part-time staff. And we've worked hard all throughout the pandemic to maintain jobs throughout these challenging times. Moving on to a high priority, certainly at the co-op, is around our diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives. As Faye mentioned earlier, and recognizing the work that Ashley has also referenced, at this time, we recognize and acknowledge the much needed attention, understanding, and actions to address the racial inequities in this country. With that, we certainly are making our own efforts, by continuing to expand our resources within our People and Cultural Library, soliciting staff for their recommendation ideas. We're working with partners such as VBSR and sponsoring their racial justice webinar series, as well as hosting staff listening sessions. As a senior team, we read and discussed the book How to Be an Anti-Racist by Ibram X. Kendi, and took time to discuss various perspectives, various views and insights that were raised in the book. Also, some of our board and senior team members are taking part in a 6-month online series called the Abolitionist Challenge. Once again, just trying to share with members that we feel that there are various ways to address racial justice in all facets of our operations and in the broader community. And we will be open and welcoming of any suggestions that come from the community so that we may continue to deepen our knowledge on this very important topic.
Thanks, John. And as John was explaining, we're working very hard to try to weave racial justice and diversity initiatives into all of the educational programming, staff training, and into board work. When it comes to our educational programming and our classes and events, a lot has changed over the last 6 months. When it became clear that in-person indoor classes in the spring, we took a pause, but our team came back in full force in June with socially distanced outdoor programming, thanks to many of our partners at the Intervale Center and other local businesses who collaborated with us. Before the pandemic, we had also been hosting all of our in-person classes. We had already hosted in the year 86 classes with over 1,150 community members attending them, and many of these classes were taking place in our beautiful new community teaching kitchen in the South End store. Then this past summer, we've been partnering with Outdoor Gear Exchange, Poppy Cafe, Shelburne Vineyards, Cafe Mamawana, Pingala Cafe, and others to provide different kinds of outdoor programming. It's been a really great way to maintain that community element of classes while also staying safe. As we move into the cooler months, we'll be pivoting once again, and we'll be providing online opportunities, including launching a Meet the Maker series featuring local vendors. So please stay tuned for new offerings.
As it relates to the environment, we remain committed as ever. Over the last year, we developed a sustainability statement as well as an environmental framework that you can find on our website to capture all that happens behind the scenes here at the co-op. And while the pandemic has disrupted many of our plans, we are still continue to be very proud of the accomplishments that we made. As you will know that we had to postpone our Earth Week bags and also had challenges with our reusable restrictions due to the pandemic. We did roll out the compostable bags and produce, restored our acceptance of the majority of our reusable options, and made a smooth transition to paper bags, doing away with single-use plastic bags in the front end. Further, we remain committed around our environmental stewardship, focusing around waste diversion, energy efficiency, and sustainable packaging. From the environmental remediation and the state-of-the-art transcritical CO2 refrigeration system we have here at the South End store, to our long-time work around film, plastic recycling, and water quality conservation efforts, we will continue to find ways to lighten our footprint on the environment.
As a board, we're so proud of the ways that the co-op has been able to support so many incredible efforts in our community in light of COVID-19. Early on, our prepared food team connected with the city on a meals program, and the co-op acted as a hub for other local restaurants, coordinating donations, and we helped to distribute over 19,900 meals. This photo that you see on the screen is of meals prepared by our staff and distributed to our longtime partners at Feeding Chittenden. On the next slide, you'll see photos from a meal distribution event that we partnered with South End City Councilors on. In that, we distributed over 200 bags of food along with gift cards. We donated product and gift cards and shared information about our Food for All program, which we'll talk about on a future slide as well. Another great component of teamwork during the pandemic has been the coordination among different departments to facilitate food donations to other community partners. We had a great opportunity to support other organizations like Hands and the Family Room with weekly food donations. We were also able to donate high demand products like rice and pasta and beans to other area food shelves. Lastly, we were very excited earlier this year to add Age Well as one of our community outreach partners to help support their Meals on Wheels programs. We've also been able to continue our community donations throughout the pandemic. Donation requests come through on a daily basis from nonprofits, local schools, and other community organizations, and we've been able to keep delivering these on every single month. We also were really excited to present the Seedling Grants again this year. These grants are selected by a committee of members, and this year we were able to distribute 10 grants to 10 different great projects that support our local community and our local food systems. And finally, one of my favorite programs that we have at the store is Rally for Change. It's been so incredible to continue to see this program thrive even during COVID-19. We're so appreciative of our members for their generosity over the years that has led to over $1.2 million donated in less than 6 years and over $234,000 donated in this last year. Thank you all for helping to make this program a success.
Thanks, Faye. And wow, that Rally for Change number, that is always just amazing to see. So thank you, members, and thank you to customers for your generosity to support the nonprofits in our community. Here we are entering the final portion of our presentation. And what better way than to wrap it up with a focus on you, our members, and membership. As you can see from the slide, we've had significant growth in membership throughout the years. And certainly that bump in FY18 coincided with certainly the opening of the South End store. That opening also signaled the start of our period of unprofitability, and with that brought some challenges to growing our membership and engaging with the community. We've certainly seen the decline of membership over the past year, and we understand that that might be partially driven to the fact that the pandemic members may not have felt safe really coming to our stores, understandably. But it also gave us a pause to reflect on the value and the benefits of membership and how we really appreciate members. We'll talk more about our plans to address this in the coming slides with the rollout of some new member benefits, as well as a membership drive that begins tomorrow. But before we do, let's take a moment to look at our member worker program. So this will come as no surprise. The member worker program is one of the many ways that we truly exemplify the co-op principles. In FY20, member workers volunteered over 14,000 hours in the community with 24 nonprofit partners. Once again, this is in light of a time when we had a significant pandemic that we continue to experience today. For members who may be unfamiliar, for 4 hours of volunteering per month, members are eligible for a 12% discount on all of your purchases at the co-op, excluding beer, wine, and alcohol. And for 2 hours per month, a 7% discount. And we certainly want to make things easy, so members could volunteer all of your year-long hours in 1 month and top up as needed. This, we feel, offers a win-win situation for both the nonprofits who are able to tap into the support and help from our members, for members who are incentivized because of the discount, and also to be able to learn on what's happening in our community. During COVID, we added Age Well as a new community partner, and also offered other in-person and virtual opportunities, so members could continue to keep their volunteer.
Food access initiatives at the co-op are one of the major parts in the ways that we live out our ends and ensure that we are accessible for all of our community members. Our Food for All program is a discount program that helps more shoppers afford healthy food and helps them stretch their budgets, increasing buying power at the store. Food for All members receive a store-wide discount of 10% and 15% off in produce and bulk, as well as access to free cooking classes in our community teaching kitchen. This spring, our community engagement team amped up their outreach efforts when it became clear that food insecurity was at a record high across our state. These programs are more important than ever right now, when so many of us are facing different economic challenges than we have in the past. And these programs are here to help make sure we can all continue to shop at the co-op. Another complementary program with the Co-op to Food for All is our line of Co-op basic products that are representing everyday low prices on the shelves. This fall, our purchasing team worked to add over 50 new items to this list, bringing the total product count to over 400. On these items, we reduced margins in order to maintain an accessible price point and designate their participation in the program with a logo on the shelving, which is that Co-op Basics tag that you see right there on your screen. So next time in your co-op, you're in the co-op, keep your eye out for the Co-op Basics label on the shelves, and you'll know that you're getting a great value when you choose those items. Now, as we wrap up our year in review, and before John shares a little bit about what's coming up in October and in the coming year, we wanted to bring you all a moment of connection and community. As you know, this virtual format means that we aren't all able to chat with each other. And in an effort to foster some of that sense of community that is felt so strongly in our in-person member meetings, we've put together a short video from some of you about why you are glad to be part of the co-op. So enjoy.
I am a member because I like supporting our local food economy.
I am a member because healthy food is so important to me.
Because I support local growers and businesses.
Because I believe in being involved in my local community through volunteer opportunities and a love for good food.
Because I just think the co-op is so much more than just a grocery store, and that it really contributes to the community in really meaningful ways.
I'm a member because in essence, it's like coming home. Home to a time when the heart knows what the heart needs and wants, access to healthy, nutritious food.
Knowing that my dollar contributes to this really great organization that's doing so many wonderful things for the community.
I love taking cooking classes and going on field trips to local farms and bakeries.
I value the member work program because it provides a great discount on my purchases.
Beyond the ability to invest in the community, I'm also kind of investing in myself, getting to know the people who make the food I eat and meet more like-minded people in the community.
The RO water is my biggest benefit.
I'm a member of the Onion River Co-op because I support the member worker program, co-op staff with wages and benefits, and in 1975 met my wife and worked together in the first collective supporting buying groups.
There are endless reasons for my membership.
And because City Market has the best 7-layer bars.
But most of all, it's the shopping experience that I love at City Market. The staff is always so helpful and kind and friendly. They really feel like family. City Market feels like a home away from home.
Thank you, members, for your thoughts and comments, and always fantastic to hear all those comments. As referenced earlier, we are so excited to be launching our member drive in October, tomorrow, and of course, members will know it is Co-op Month. We partnered with 4 different co-ops. You'll see on the screen, Cabot, Equal Exchange, REI, and Vermont Federal Credit Union to join forces and celebrate the best of the cooperatives for this coming month. And we have incentives for new members, current members renewing their equity, and members who become paid in full. So during the month of October, as members, you will be automatically entered into a weekly raffles for items like sleeping bags, tents, coolers, and gift cards. And beyond October, members will automatically be entered into raffles each month as a member benefit. All new members and members who renew their equity during the month of October will receive, yes, this bamboo utensil set. And new this year, we are launching quarterly discount days for members. If members will look back on February 14th, Valentine's Day, earlier this year, where we offered a 8.02%. I don't think I need to explain why that's the number on local and made in Vermont products, which the first will be starting off this year for October. Now we know that that was a very quick overview over the last year, and certainly our plans for this coming October. As you can see, overall, things continue to be challenging at the co-op as we monitor the evolving situation with the pandemic. But we remain committed to keeping our staff, you members, and customers safe, and while doing so, our best to serve you and the broader community. And yes, one other very important announcement I wanted to make. You might be wondering, what about the Cottage Tree sale? Well, we're excited to announce that from this year, we'll be offering Cottage Tree sale both in the downtown and the South End store. So stay tuned for further details. Now with that, we'd like to now plan to open this up for a Q&A session. And it seems like we have already received some questions. Just to let members know, we will do our best to answer as many questions as possible in the remaining time we have left. But should your question not be addressed, we certainly encourage you to write to us at info@citymarket.coop. As always, we will strive our best to get back to you as soon as we can. So, Faye, over to you on the Q&As.
All right, thanks, John. So it looks like we have a number of questions that have come in. The first question is, how can we resolve the fact that the downtown store has reduced the availability of bulk products enormously, while the South End store has a full bulk section with, oh, sorry, I lost some of the question, with both pre-bagged and bag your own items?
So it's a great question. And I guess just to say that we recognize that, yes, there are some challenges with the downtown store, specifically around bulk. I think members will recognize that as much as we are making tremendous effort to provide parity between the stores, that certainly in the downtown, due to some space constraints that pose different challenges than certainly in the South End, we have challenges with putting out bulk products and making them as available as possible. We're continuing to review operations there, and hopefully over the next few months, we will certainly see some continued improvement. But just to say that we are very much aware of this, we have received member comments about this, and we'll continue to do our best to address those challenges.
Great, thanks, John. All right, the second question that we have, has the board discussed affirmatively creating a racially diverse group of directors by changing the bylaws to designate a third or more of the seats for BIPOC people? That's a really good question. I can tell you that we are having a number of deep conversations around the board makeup, and we recognize that the board right now does not reflect the diversity of the community. It's absolutely an area that we need to work on. Right now, we have a committee, a subcommittee of the board that are exploring different ways to explore nominations and recruitment and the way that we are bringing people to the table as board members. We haven't talked about changing the bylaws at this moment. It's an interesting idea and one that we'll definitely think about. So thank you for that question. All right, the next question is, any idea when Flynn Avenue in front of the South End store will be repaved? It is a minefield of potholes. That is a question we get a lot, isn't it?
We do. It's a great question, and I must say that I have answered the question many a times. I think members will know that the city continues to have plans with the Champlain Parkway. And as part of that, I think one of the few dirt roads left in maybe Burlington is part of the changes that will take place with that parkway. So as much as we certainly recognize the state of that road, we have certainly referenced that and raised up the city. We would certainly encourage members to do so as well. But from what we understand, that is really tied into the Champlain Parkway plans, and until those plans really move forward, we understand that really improvements on that road won't be able to be made, including a repaving.
Great. Okay, the next question is another one for you, John. Any plans to restart in-person cooking classes?
You know, I must say that we recognize the popularity of our cooking classes, certainly pre-pandemic. We would very much like to restart at some point. But once again, as members can understand, we are monitoring closely the current situation. Safety, as we've said many times before, is our highest priority. And once we feel that we can confidently restart the cooking class in a safe environment, we will do so. But at this point, it's really hard to predict when that timing will be.
Great. All right, looks like we have another question about the board. This question is, what deliberate recruitment steps does the board take to improve diversity? So I think I addressed that a little bit in the earlier question. Recruitment and nomination is something that we're exploring right now. Currently, the board does not have an official role in recruitment or nominating. We use the onions, as you may recall, to help signify board candidates who have done kind of the groundwork to become a board member, but we don't officially nominate anyone. We are exploring ways to improve our diversity and to improve recruitment. So board members this year all had been reaching out. We're working on setting up some more specific plans around this, and we'll say that it is an area that we really do need to work on it and are actively working on to improve. Okay, John, we have another question for you. Was the co-op eligible for state COVID financial assistance? And if so, did we apply and receive it? And how much did we get? How did it help mitigate losses?
Great question. And I guess, I believe this question references potentially PPP loan. That's the way that I'm going to interpret this. So yes, the co-op did seek a PPP loan. We sought the PPP loan and received one in early May. The amount that we sought and did receive was $2.6 million. And as members may acknowledge that we certainly applied for it following the guidelines that was set forth for that loan, which is essentially the amount that would equate to payroll costs for staff over a 2.5-month period, including health benefits. At this time, members may also recognize that we are not sure whether or not we may be relieved of the repayment of that loan. So at this point, it is really on our balance sheet as a liability. We will certainly be submitting paperwork to seek relief of that. But at this point in time, it's very difficult to say how that outcome will be. So in the meantime, we are doing our very best within this environment to manage the co-op as best as possible, recognizing that we may have that type of change in the future.
Thanks, John. And I can just share too that the board is following all of this very closely, all of the financial, the loan and everything else that's coming up with COVID. So we're having lots of conversations about all of this as it goes. Okay, we're switching gears a little bit with this next question. What is City Market doing to expand its plant-based foods as a more environmentally friendly alternative to animal products?
Great question, and one that certainly resonates very strongly with me. I would say that the co-op is always looking at a variety of product options across all of its product categories. Environmental, once again, as I shared earlier, around our environmental framework and trying to look at sustainability. Certainly product options that are more sustainable, more environmentally friendly fit that criteria as well. So as members might have noticed, we're certainly bringing in other plant-based foods, beyond meat and such are certainly within that. But also, as members may know, and particularly for myself, having worked in the environmental sector, the regenerative agriculture discussions happening around meat products is also very prudent to consider as we look at more environmentally friendly products. So all that being said, we are balancing those criteria as we look to expand products that we continue to offer our members and our customers.
All right, thanks, John. Next question. As Jim Rudolph, one of the board members, mentioned in his video about e-commerce, are there any near-term plans for improving City Market's e-commerce story?
Great question, once again. I would say that I think members and customers have certainly shown further interest nationally around e-commerce. obviously accelerated with the situation with the pandemic. At the co-op, we certainly have expanded on our delivery system and established, as I mentioned earlier, our curbside program. But currently, this is all being done by phone, and we recognize that this is not an ideal situation, and so we are looking at e-commerce options. At the same time, we've been studying this pre-pandemic across other co-ops to see how their e-commerce programs have been doing, and it's very mixed. One of the reasons and key reasons being that many members had certainly wanted to go to the co-op themselves to select their food items. Now, with the pandemic, we recognize that a lot has changed. And so it is something that we are looking at. I can't say at this point when potentially we might be rolling out an e-commerce program, but it is certainly something we've been looking at and will continue to do so. We're trying to also balance that with the everyday needs and requests that are coming in from members and customers. And at this point, just trying to find the time to further see how we might roll that out forward. But please know that we are looking into this.
Okay, great. All right, next question is, from a cash flow perspective, was the co-op profitable in 2020? What are you expecting for 2021, given current performance?
Great question. Once again, in terms of our profitability, I think I referenced this earlier, but with the opening of the South End store in FY18, that signaled our start of unprofitability, and that is, I must say, planned unprofitability. At the time, members may remember that we anticipated possibly being unprofitable until 2023. Now, and we had put together a pro forma that would be good best practice and diligence before we opened the store. Certainly worked closely with the board to make sure that there was alignment around that and setting expectations, because with the investment here in the South End store, which just to remind members, it was a $20 million investment, including the purchase of the land and the building of the store. We recognize that we're going to be taking on a pretty significant debt for a period of time. The challenge for us is, once again, we were not profitable in FY20, and that was planned. But due to the pandemic and the additional expenses we had to incur alongside revenues being lower than what we had budgeted for, we expect FY21 to also be unprofitable. And so at this point, and I shared this at the member meeting last year, we were in the midst of putting together a financial reforecast that we were trying to establish before the end of this FY20 year. Unfortunately, with the pandemic, we had actually developed and drafted one. We shared it with the board, and that was in January 2020, so at the early part of this year. With the pandemic, members will probably understand that much has changed in the landscape and essentially required us to look and revisit the assumptions that that financial reforecast was based on. And at this point in time, it probably won't be until the end of this FY21 financial year, meaning next June, that we will feel comfortable to be able to put together and have alignment with the board around a new financial reforecast. And I hope members can understand, because we were really challenged even to put together a budget for this current financial year. There are so many unknowns out there. I think people have probably heard on the news around how buying behaviors have changed. We have certainly seen those changes here in Burlington and across the state and the region. And until things settle further, we are going to be monitoring our financials very closely on a quarterly basis, and certainly even on a monthly basis, just to make sure that we stay in step with any types of trends we're noticing, especially as the weather gets a little cooler, people move indoors, and certainly some of the ongoing concerns around the pandemic.
Okay. What were the costs to the co-op of the 2 boil water advisory and alerts? And how was this paid for? Did the city of Burlington pay for any of the costs to the co-op, or was it covered by insurance?
Yes, water boil alerts and advisories. So first of all, I answered this question from the very end. Unfortunately, insurance did not cover any of the losses for the closings. We closed the South End store for about a day and a half. We closed also both stores, once again, during that July period and also in February. And so the total number of sales losses we had combined was probably over 300,000. The city of Bremerton also did not pay for any of those costs. And at the same time, even though we did close the stores, I hope members will assume we paid our staff during those times, because obviously they are conditions that were beyond anyone's control. So we as the co-op essentially absorb those costs as best as possible. We have had situations in the past when we've had to close the store on short notice. Certainly it ends up being very challenging for us, but those also contributed to our losses, because every time we closed both the stores on a day, daily we generate about $150,000 in sales, and so you can imagine what, let's say, even 2.5 days of closing can equate to. Fortunately, we are putting in some additional safety measures that hopefully in future, anticipating that a situation like a water boil alert advisory may happen again, we can partially stay open to the best of our abilities, recognizing that safety still remains our highest priority.
Great, thank you, John. Next question is, why doesn't the co-op carry the same products at both of the stores?
Yes, a question that we do get asked often. So when we first opened the South End store, we felt that potentially some of the customer profiles and shopping sort of expectations and what products would be available here would be slightly different than the downtown. And if members remember, because I remember seeing in member customer comments or customer comment cards on a weekly basis, we looked and reviewed the many customer comments that came in that first 12 to 18 months, where members and customers were seeking products that they could find in the downtown here in the South End. Over that 18-month period, I think we did a good job trying to address many of those requests, but interesting enough, there are certainly different customer requests and asks depending on the South End, downtown stores. So for that reason alone, we do have different products stocked between the two stores, but at the same time, we certainly have more than we initially expected that are offered in both stores based on the requests that come from members and customers.
All right, we have time for one last question. Do you expect that members will get their member checks next year? Those are called equity checks, correct?
So I believe the question is around patronage refund checks. So patronage refund checks, as members will know, is something that is generated when the co-op is profitable, and we have certain criteria. It's a discussion also that we have with the board. As I've referenced, at this point, we've been unprofitable for the last 2 years since the opening of the South End store. And once again, we just want to be really transparent. We don't expect to be profitable in the coming year. And once again, that is based on the fact that the investment in opening the South End store was a significant one. And as much as I think we were doing better than what we initially forecasted with the pandemic, we've really taken a bit of a back step with the additional loss in revenue, but also the additional expenses that we're incurring, which we don't necessarily foresee changing in the near future, which I'm sure members will understand. So I would just say to manage expectations, it is pretty unlikely that we would provide any patronage checks for this financial year. But certainly as part of the financial reforecast, we want to be able to paint a more realistic picture in terms of when we feel the co-op might get back to profitability. And as also with that, Faye, maybe if you would share some thoughts too.
Yeah, I just want to add that to what John said. You know, this was planned on profitability. We were really fortunate as co-op members for so many years to reliably get a patronage refund check every year. And so knowing that that was such a major part of the membership experience and the value of membership, that's where we have all of these new member benefits that are launching tomorrow and the membership drive. So we're hoping that that helps bring some value to membership in addition to all of the other values of membership, like owning the co-op and being part of the community that will help out there. So thank you all for your great questions. Again, if we weren't able to answer a question, please follow up. We're happy to try to do so when we can. And so we're wrapping up for the night. And so before I turn it over to John to say goodnight, I just want to remind all of you to please vote for the board. Voting for the board is another one of your member benefits and one of the major parts of being a member and being a cooperative. So voting will be open tonight until October 21st. We have the four candidates, and you can find out more information about all of them and how to vote at the website that's on the screen. So thank you all for sharing your time with us tonight and for your membership and your support of the co-op.
So with that, once again wanted to just echo our thanks to you, our members, for your amazing support all throughout. We certainly look forward to the coming year, and it was really fantastic to be able to have you join us virtually. We sincerely hope that you, your families, and your friends and communities continue to stay safe and in continued health. And we really wish you our cooperative best. Thank you for your time. As we finish up September, we'll be wishing you a great night. Happy Co-op Month for October. I look forward to seeing you at the Co-op in the near future. Good night.